Hello!
Hello!
And welcome to Emmanuel Weekly. This is episode 4, I believe. And I'm Ian, and today I have a different presenter with me, a guest presenter. Introduce yourself, guest presenter.
Hi, I am Laurie-Anne. Do you want to know some information, or do you want that in a minute?
Let's have some information. Who are you, Laurie-Anne?
So I'm the Youth Minister at Emmanuel Church. So if you're part of our congregation, you will know that. But if you're watching us randomly on YouTube, then I'm the Youth Minister. I get to work with the young people at Emmanuel.
Awesome. And I'm just Ian. And just a quick apology to say we didn't manage to get an Emmanuel Weekly out last week, so we're sorry about that. Hope that did not ruin your week. But we are now trying at the moment to put together a podcast version. So you may actually be listening just to the audio of this, if I've managed to sort it out in time. And you may not know there's a podcast version that you could listen to. So if you have just discovered that from me telling you, then have a look for the podcast version, and there should be a link on the Emmanuel Facebook page. Anyway, Laurie-Anne, how was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good, thank you. Sunny, so managed to get outside for a walk, which was nice.
Very nice, very nice. And being obviously a good Christian and employed by Emmanuel, did you go to church yesterday?
I did. Well, I went to online church yesterday.
Online church. Awesome. And what was happening in the service yesterday for those that haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, so yesterday was our all-age service. So if you haven't seen it, especially if you've got kids, then make sure you go check it out on the Facebook page. And we had a very exciting announcement yesterday about the money we raised from the gift day.
Yeah, awesome. So those of you who weren't aware, we had a gift day on Sunday, which is going towards the building project for the Emmanuel Community Centre. You can still give. I think there is a link still on the Emmanuel Facebook page and on the Emmanuel website. But how much? I know that the target was 35,000. So Laurie-Anne, we're going to do like a drum roll. Hang on. How much was raised?
57,000.
57,000. Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, so that's 57,000 pledged in, I think, in one-off donations and increased giving, which is just fantastic. So praise God for that. And that is really fantastic. So again, on behalf of everyone, at the church, we just want to say thank you to everyone who's donated. So that's brilliant. Now we are going to have a bit of an interview with you, Laurie-Anne, coming up shortly. But first of all, we have a new little feature, which we are calling Kids Got Questions. And here it is.
How is God around, and how does God have lots of power?
When you say how is God around, you mean how was he here from the beginning?
Yeah.
Hi Quinn. Wow, those are some really interesting and mind-blowing questions that you've asked today. And I think the answer is that no one really knows how God has always been there. We just know that he has been because he says so in the Bible. It's really hard for our tiny human minds to understand that something could have always been there and always will be, because everything in our world has been created, has a beginning and an end. So yeah, it's really crazy to us. But we can take comfort from the fact that God always will be there for us. And as for how powerful he is, well, again, I don't know why or how. I just know that he is, and we can see the signs of him everywhere around us, in the sun and the stars, and in nature, in the beautiful people around us, and in the miracles we read about in the Bible, and the miracles we hear about that are still happening even now. And it's pretty awesome. I don't know how or why God is so powerful. I just know that he has to be, to keep all of that running. I hope this helps. Bye.
Ah, brilliant. Fantastic. So, brilliant question, Quinn. And I'm glad it wasn't me that had to answer it, because you definitely put Dawn on the spot there.
Yep.
But she did pretty well, don't you think?
Yep, great answer.
Awesome, awesome. So, if there are any other children out there who have a good question, or parents who have been stumped by your child's question, what you need to do is just record them as Quinn did, asking the question, and send it in to us at our email address or through the Facebook page. So, as you can see, and as you're already aware, we have Laurie-Anne with us today for Emmanuel Weekly. And we just wanted to have a bit of a chat with you, Laurie-Anne, to get to know you a little bit better and what you do. Because I hear that youth ministers are pretty awesome people. I don't know about, I mean, I think Sam, if there's a Sam Mutton out there watching, he knows that youth workers, youth ministers are pretty awesome. Isn't that right?
Yeah, really humble.
They're very humble. They're very humble. But so Laurie-Anne, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you get up to when you are not being an amazing youth minister.
Yeah, not, to be honest, not a huge amount at the moment because of lockdown and pandemic. But yeah, I only work part-time for Emmanuel, and the other part of my kind of career, I'm a dance teacher. So I teach all the way from kind of 3-year-olds up to adults, and I really love doing that. Because of the coronavirus, I'm not doing it as much as normal, and I do actually really miss working with the children and seeing them. So yeah, I do that. But then on kind of a non-work basis, me and Mark both have very close-knit families. So we like seeing them and doing things with them. And we also really like food.
Okay.
Food plays a big part in, again, all things that you can't really do at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, you can eat nice food, but you have to cook it yourself. Yeah. So we like going out for dinner and having nice food. Yeah. Fantastic.
So obviously we know that you're the youth minister here at Emmanuel in Woodley. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey of how you became a youth minister and then how you became youth minister at Emmanuel?
Yes, so I've been a Christian my whole life. I grew up in a church that basically my entire family went to. So there are 4 generations of us who I think all believe in God, go to church, which I think is, amazing. So I've kind of always known God, always had faith. And my testimony isn't one that's kind of this amazing moment of knowing Jesus, but I think that in itself is pretty awesome, the fact that God has just been faithful throughout my life, and has been close by throughout my life. And then I guess coming to being a youth minister, so I've always really wanted to work with young people. I remember watching, I think it was one of the Step Up movies when I was a teenager, and just
great stories start with the Step Up movie.
I haven't even watched it in ages. I can't remember what the film's actually about other than dancing. But I remember being like, oh, I really want to teach young people to dance. And that was when I was a teenager. So that was my ambition in life. I went to university and studied dance. I did a BA and a master's in dance, so nothing to do with youth ministry. But with my dance stuff, I've always taught children and young people. And then coming out of uni after I finished my master's, I had a year where I taught dance and I worked in a pub, and I was like, what should I do with my life? Like, where do I go? How do I actually get like a career? And I went on that path of kind of trying to find jobs. And I came across a job that I thought was perfect. I applied for it and I got that job. And then I was asked to come in a day before my contract started. And I went for that day, and when I was there I just had this massive gut feeling that it wasn't right at all, and it was probably about a 50-minute drive from my home, and I spent the whole way back just like absolutely crying my eyes out, which It's not that great when you're driving. Yeah, so, and I got home and I spoke to my mum and dad, and my dad said to me, like, your contract hasn't started yet, it starts tomorrow, so you can pull out. I'm a very stubborn person, and like quitting is not something that I do, so like, that was a really hard decision, but it just didn't feel right. So I pulled out and I was like, okay, that's not it. And I turned to God and I said, God, what do you want me to do? Because I thought that this was it, and I thought that this was where I was going to be going and where I was going to be working for like however many years, and it's obviously not. And I remember sitting in my bedroom and reading a bit in Exodus where Moses is in the place where he's looking at the Red Sea, and he knows behind him there's the army coming, and in front of him is this Red Sea and there's nowhere out. And I remember reading that passage and being like, that's how I feel. Like, obviously my life wasn't as dramatic as Moses running away and being in the desert, but like I felt like I'm stuck in this place of, actually I don't know what my future holds, what's going on. And I had this massive sense of God saying, like, trust me, keep walking forwards and trust me. And he also reminded me of a talk that I had listened to at Soul Survivor a couple of years before. I can't remember whether it was the summer or 2 summers before. But me and Mark were there serving on team, and there was a guy who was doing a talk, and he said, you don't have to be qualified to be called. If you're called, God qualifies you. And when I was listening to that, I remember thinking, oh, maybe I should go into youth work. And I just kind of brushed it aside. But then when I was sat here in my bedroom reading the book of Exodus, I remembered that God had said that. And then basically because of that, started applying for jobs, ended up at Emmanuel. And that is why I'm here now.
That's right here. That is such a wonderful story. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening and watching who can really relate to different elements of that story. And that must be also just great in your work as a youth minister, to be able to share that bit of your story and God at work and God speaking to you in such powerful ways. Now, how are you finding youth work or youth ministry in a pandemic?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to use that word.
that is a diplomatic word. Yeah.
There's lots of good things and there's lots of hard things about it. I think, yeah, obviously none of it was expected, and I think there's some good things that come out of being thrown into a place that you're not expecting. I think I had to adapt very quickly to putting things online and just being like a support for the young people. I think particularly in the first lockdown, like everything for the young people just completely disappeared. Like all the things they had planned for summer was just stopped. All of the stuff they had planned in that week or the months coming up was just completely stopped. And I think for me it was really important to not be the thing that stopped, and to keep going. And I think because of that, there's lots of things that I've learned about just being able to adapt and like going for it. And I think there's been, I guess I'll give you a really high part of pandemic youth work and maybe something that's a bit harder. So I think the good thing is that the young people that have been coming along to groups, both online and then when we were back in person in September, and then we've come back online again, they've been like really committed. And it's been really amazing to get to know them more. And I think their relationships, I hope they agree with this, I think their relationships have strengthened from what I can kind of see. I think the thing that's difficult is that those that maybe we didn't have as good a relationship with before, we've lost touch with. And it's really difficult to reform that when you can't just open up your doors and do like a drop-in session. And I think not being able to plan things is quite hard. So we'd have no idea even what summer looks like. And yeah, within not planning, I think it's always great to learn new skills and to be like, actually, how do we do youth work when we can't plan stuff? Or what can we plan in a very short amount of time? But yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah, I think interesting is definitely the word, isn't it? But yeah, really having to think on your feet and be creative. When we're outside of a pandemic in normal times, what is it that you particularly love about being a youth minister and working with young people in the church?
Yeah, good question. I think this actually applies in both settings. So I think both now in the pandemic and also previously. I think the thing that I love the most about youth work is just like getting to know people. Like I love just chatting to people, and my whole job is basically just involves talking to people, which is really great.
Don't tell people that's all that youth ministers do.
Yeah, sorry.
That's just, come on. That's all they're good at.
But it is a great part of it, and
It is.
and whether that's kind of in schools, in colleges, whether that's young people who are like hanging outside the church, or whether that's young people that are actually coming along to the youth group, just getting to know them is really great. And I just love the randomness of young people.
Yeah.
They keep you on your toes, but in like in a good way, which I think is good.
Yes. They do. They
Yeah.
do. Brilliant. I should just explain for people watching a little bit of context why I keep mentioning about how great youth ministers are. It's because I once did that job before as well. So yeah. And tell us a little bit about kind of, we talked about your journey up to here.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the hopes and aspirations, COVID or non-COVID,
Mm-hmm.
that you feel God has put on your heart for your ministry at Emmanuel?
Yeah, I think my kind of biggest hope is that we will be a church that like really sees and really hears young people, and that through being a congregation who sees and hears and loves young people, they'll know the love of Jesus. And I think for me it's about working together as like a whole body. So I was speaking to a guy called Ian, not you, who heads up the Oxford Diocese like youth work. And I may be misquoting him, but he said something about churches often view young people and children as vessels that need to be filled, and actually they're not vessels that need to be filled. Like God is already in them, the Holy Spirit is already in them, and the young people that we have in our church who know God like are really amazing. They know God, they have a lot of wisdom, and I guess that's another thing I love about youth work is I learn a lot from them. And I think if our church and our congregation of all different generations can get around young people and children and like learn from them, I think that's kind of my vision of like everybody being an integral part of the body of Christ.
That is a really an inspiring vision, and I guess one that doesn't just come down to you as the youth minister or the volunteers. It's everyone. And just thinking of us as a church, are there just a couple of things that we can be really praying for you at the moment?
Yeah, I think it would be really great to pray over our like very immediate area. So the streets that surround Emmanuel. There's a lot of people that live there that we don't know, or that we're getting to know, and it would just be really great to pray for their hearts and their like doors to be open to us. And I think also prayer for schools. The schools, every time I speak to a young person, they've got another person in their year or in their school who's gone into isolation. And that's tough, I think, especially for the ones that are doing GCSEs and A levels. Like that kind of uncertainty of when they're going to have to go into isolation is really hard. So I think, prayer for schools and prayer for our local young people.
Excellent. Okay. And what about for you personally?
Motivation.
Motivation.
I think because I think that's one thing about lockdown. Like obviously I'm working from home a lot more. And when you're somebody whose job is usually going out and talking to a lot of people and catching up with people, being sat at your desk trying to get work done, it takes quite a lot of effort to like motivate.
Yeah.
So prayer.
I think we can all put our hand up and go, yeah, when you're working from home, it's a challenge, isn't it? Especially admin days are the ones, I think, for a lot of us we find that. Oh, fantastic. Well, it's been really wonderful just finding out a bit more about you and about what you do and why you do it and how God is at work in all of that. So thank you very much. Now, I hear Laurie-Anne on Sunday. I've been told that there is, they've really pulled out all the stops. I mean, we obviously always have fantastic people preaching on a Sunday at Emmanuel, but this time I hear they've really gone, really sound pretty good. So I'm just going to see here, check my notes here. And, oh, it's you, Laurie-Anne. You are doing the talk on Sunday. Would you like to tell us what it's about and why people should join in?
Yes. So on Sunday, we're having a bit of a think about what it is to be a Christ-like church. So thinking about unity and thinking about servanthood. So do make sure that you check it out.
Excellent. So, of course, you can do that by tuning in on the Facebook page. And if you do miss the service, I think at the moment they are being put up on YouTube as well, so that you can access them there and share them with friends who do not have Facebook. Perish the thought. Now, we have a little feature which we just like to end with, Laurie-Anne, which is about finding joy, and it's called Lockdown. There it is. Not down. Can you do the not down with me, please, Laurie-Anne? Not down. So, what is your reason for being not down despite there being a lockdown?
Yes, my very inspiring reason is Indian takeaway. Something that is still open, something that we can still get delivered to our house, and a weekly Indian takeaway does bring joy. And also another thing that brings joy is just having more time to spend with God, and just finding moments in the day to pray and remember that God is in control, and he's in control during this pandemic, and he's also going to be in control once we're out of it.
Absolutely. What a really great thought to finish on. Thank you, Laurie-Anne, again.
That's right. So thank you everyone who's watched today.
Yeah, and those that listened, if we managed to sort out the podcast. And we will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye.